Welcome to the final edition of the Debate Team before the U.S. takes on England this Saturday. Huge matchup and a lot to talk about. Let's start with injuries. Injuries have plagued both of these teams. Which team is hurt the most by injuries?
Well, if you ask me, I think that actually, the U.S. is obviously hurt the most. When you think about going all the way back to Charlie Davies' injury, and of course Oguchi Onyewu, you're just not sure what you're going to get out of him. Can he start? Can he go 90 minutes? That, I think, really hurts the U.S. in terms of their injuries. Rio Ferdinand, yes, he's their leader, he's their captain, but he only became their captain, what, 5 months ago, 6 months ago. So it's not like he's the guy that they're always looking to defensively.
And I think they have guy, David Beckham, who would have been on this team, who's also injured.
But okay, but I'm not sure David Beckham would have been, say, the contributor that a Charlie Davies would be if he hadn't gotten injured.
And I would also throw in there, I think England is most hurt because I thought I would put Gareth Barry in there.
Right.
For the equilibrium of their center midfield, a lot of people are down on the pairing of Gerrard and Lampard in the middle. So I think missing Gareth Barry throws them off a little. So I think England is hurt.
I think the Rio Ferdinand injury is somewhat superficial. He wouldn't play. He's going to play a big role in that game. He would have. But I think there's more about the morale of that team. There's so much weight on the captaincy of England. So when he goes down, it's maybe potentially a knock at their morale. I don't know if it's going to translate that much on the field personnel-wise.
And let's not forget David James, the goalkeeper, coming into this game with an injury. So
what about tactics? We talked about tactics a lot. How are the U.S. preparing to face England, and what do they need to do to go out on that field and earn a result?
Well, from all indications, it seems like they're preparing to go with one forward up top. Simon, you and I have talked about this. We've talked about it on the debate team a bunch of times about that one forward, probably Altidore up top. So tactically, I think that Bob Bradley's thinking to pack it in a little bit, withstand certainly the early pressure, and then use what he can on the counterattack to let Donovan and Dempsey start to run those flanks as much as possible. I think, from my standpoint, I think maybe that's not the way to go. You look at what we did tactically to Brazil at the Confederations Cup last year, and we did have two up there. We put Landon and Josie Altidore up there to attack right from the start. We didn't necessarily back down from Brazil or Spain.
To me, that's how you have to go at it. You have to go at England right away. England is typically slow starters in the World Cup. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of them potentially wanting to be cautious with us, the most dangerous opponent that they're going to face. Go at them. Go at them early. Try to get an early goal and force them to work from behind. Force them to push the game.
It's a little bit like the schoolyard fight, right? If you hit them first, you never know what's going to come down out of that.
But with the players the U.S. we think Bob Bradley will put on the field, a Ricardo Clark with a Michael Bradley, this U.S. team is not going to be a possession team. They're going to be a let's defend first team. Yeah. So if that is your attitude going into the game, England is going to own the possession. So let them own the possession and be tactically smart about how you can counter. And I think with five midfielders, you get the best opportunity.
I think you're going to see more of what we've seen in the past, which is sort of waiting for a counter, waiting for a goal off a set play, and then sort of setting back, holding on for dear life, letting Tim Howard do the dirty work, let Gooch, if he comes in off the bench, let Ricardo Clark, Michael Bradley, if Mo Adu comes in, just holding on for dear life the way they've done, the way they did against Spain. They did that against Argentina. They didn't get a win in that one. But I wouldn't like to see that. I'd like to see them, like you said, come out, be more aggressive from the outset, see what they can do in the first game of the World Cup when everybody's still figuring each other out. But I get the impression that Bradley's going to stick with what he knows.
Who do you think is going to play the biggest role for the U.S.? Who is the most important player for the U.S. in this game against England? Who has to step up? What do they have to do? Why are they the most important player?
I think I'm going to probably go with Jay DeMerit. Because Jay DeMerit's going to be the guy who's going to have to deal with Wayne Rooney when Wayne Rooney's running around. Whether he ends up marking him man-to-man or whether he sits back next to Goodson or Onyewu or Bocanegra, whomever Bob Bradley ends up choosing to play in there at the other center back, I think DeMerit's role is going to be the one that when Rooney drops off the way he does, when he floats out wide, DeMerit's the one who's going to have to either stay with him or he's going to have to know exactly where he is to say to the left back, hey, Rooney's coming out there. So I think Jay DeMerit, in terms of, especially if you're going tactically, defensively the way they're going to go, he's the man who has to worry about Wayne Rooney. He becomes the most important player on the field.
I think it's Landon Donovan hands down. I think Landon Donovan can't go into this game managing himself or playing at the rate, at the pace that the U.S. is playing. He needs to step up for the U.S., be that extra player for the U.S., not just play down to whatever level the U.S. is playing, because to be dangerous for the U.S. on counters and really give them a dangerous presence up top, but also to keep Ashley Cole honest. If you have Ashley Cole coming along down that line, I think think the U.S. are in
The more
big
he
trouble.
pushes, the more he keeps Ashley Cole sticking back.
For me, I don't think it's a surprise, but I think Tim Howard is going to have to play a great game. I think the games that when the U.S. is hung in there against Spain and against Argentina, Tim Howard is the one who makes the big plays that allows for. If they give up a couple goals in the beginning, it's not going to matter how often they counter. Tim Howard's going to have to come up with, we all know, probably 3 or 4 fairly big saves, probably a couple right at the end if they're in a close game. Keep him in it.
Well, there's 4 of us and 4 different opinions. I actually think Michael Bradley is going to be the most important player for us, simply because he's a temperamental guy at times. He needs to keep his cool. He needs to be focused in the central midfield. We mentioned that the midfield for England, Lampard and Gerrard, don't play very well together. They're not consistent together. So hopefully for the U.S., we can take advantage of that in the midfield. Michael Bradley would be a big part of that, helping us attack out of the back. Would anyone disagree that Wayne Rooney is the most important player for England in this game?
Would anyone disagree with that? It's hard to disagree with that. I think that, but I actually
He's probably the most important player for them in the tournament.
He is certainly, I think, over the tournament, but I actually think that for them right now, the most important player is Steven Gerrard. He was just named captain of the England team, and as Nick said, being captain of England means a lot more than being captain almost in any other country, right? And so he has to step up and really take that leadership.
Traditionally, Gerrard's always scared me more than Rooney, honestly, in terms of a game-changing player who gets a goal early and sort of deflates the U.S. team.
And his intensity is it's team-oriented intensity, which I think Rooney's intensity is very individual. I never get that sense that Rooney is fighting for the team.
It's always individual accolades. Well, I don't know, it's all individual accolades, but it's individual success as opposed to Gerrard is.
I always get the sense
I totally think, though, that Rooney is a guy who the other guys feed off of. You sense it during a game. I mean, the way he just applies himself during a game.
Provides an extra energy.
But I think that's from Gerrard, too. I think they feed off of Gerrard in this one.
Well, let me ask you guys, talking about this English team and how good the players are that they have, what has to happen in this game for the United States to get 3 points? For the United States to win, I know you think they're going to win. What has to happen? What has to go right for the U.S. to win?
John Terry has to trip in the warm-up and hurt himself. I think actually that John Terry is going to be a big part in this. I think that what has to go right, first of all, I think they have to withstand the early pressure. I think England, because they're under so much pressure from the press at home, from their fans, and the fact that they feel like they have a team that can actually compete for the trophy this year, not just get to the semis.
Wait, is it at the World Cup? If it's the World Cup, England feels that they have a team who can compete for the trophy. Every World Cup comes around, and this is the year for England.
It's different. It's different, number one, because they have Capello as their coach. So they have a different mentality in terms of the tactics needed and what is required to win a World Cup. They feel like it's a different feeling about England this time around. And I think that pressure for the U.S., what they have to do is in that first 15 minutes, withstand that pressure, get a couple of good hard tackles in, let England know that they're in for a game today, and they need to get one really good counterattack in that first 15 minutes, because that will let England know, they're not just going to sit back. This is not, this is not Algeria sitting back and just hoping that you get a 0-0 draw. That the U.S. is capable of causing some problems.
I don't think we're good enough. I don't think the U.S. is built. I just don't think the U.S. is built to withstand the pressure from this English team like that. We need to go out early, attack them, put the pressure on England, and get that early goal. If the U.S. can do it.
Greg is saying in the first 15 or
You're
20
gonna rely
minutes.
on it on one counterattack?
No, it's a message. They're not relying
they're
on
making
one.
in the first 15 minutes.
It's the first 15 minutes.
We're not feeling you guys out. We're going to set our tone. We're going to play by our agenda over these first 20 minutes. The longer this game, and hopefully they get a goal, the longer this game goes when the game is in doubt, the worse off it is for the Americans, don't you think?
When the game is in doubt?
Yeah.
No, I think the longer
if
it goes.
it's 1-0, or if it's 0-0 going in the second half,
if it's 0-0 going in the second half, I actually have faith in the U.S. because I think that they are fit.
You do? Okay.
I think that they can run all day long. I think that they can counterattack.
You agree with me that the U.S. needs to push and get that first goal. That's what I'm saying.
No, they don't need to push. What they do need to do, and Nick, I think you said it correctly, is they need to set the agenda.
Yeah.
But that agenda can be a more defensive look for the counterattack.
Right.
But the U.S. has to set that agenda and say, as Simon said, take possession in your half. I don't care. do what you have to do. You know, John Terry, go ahead, hit those things in, and they sit back, and then you go.
I think you guys hit it right on the head that this game is going to be all about intangibles and momentum. So the game starts out, England has the ball. If the U.S. can spring the one counter, whether to strike fear in them or maybe multiple opportunities that England all of a sudden they're a little weary, England is a team that will get down on itself, will begin to doubt. You begin to see the doubts. And then I think it's just going to be an ebb and flow of this kind of momentum. And the U.S. has to take advantage of the one opportunity. If the U.S. gets up in this game, that sets themselves up beautifully.
Coverage of this game begins at 1:30 Eastern on ABC this Saturday. Enjoy the match. We'll be back with more post-game analysis and definitely another debate team afterwards.